What's up everybody, it's Feder from 3D Print SOS. It looks like you guys have been really enjoying printing different materials on your Voxelab Aquila 3D printer. We did a video on PLA and included a profile. We did a video on TPU and included the changes you need to make to print flexibles on these printers. Today I want to do PETG filament. For this video, YouSu kindly sent me a roll of their transparent PETG. I'm really excited for this stuff because I print a lot of transparent PLA for some projects such as my keyboard cases, for the bottoms of the cases for the LEDs to shine through, and also for my InWin A1 case risers. The feet are also printed in transparent so that the LEDs shine through. And from what I understand, PETG transparent filament is a little bit more transparent than PLA. So I'm really excited to test this out. I've printed tons with PETGs on other printers, but never on this printer, so I'm really excited. So it gives me an opportunity to not only try this filament and see how it is, but also see what this printer is really capable of and help you guys out in case you are interested in printing in PETG on these printers. I know a lot of you are already printing PETG on the Voxelab Aquila 3D printer. One thing I wanted to touch on is because the temperatures have to go up, they have to go up to at least 230 degrees on the hot end. I highly recommend you upgrading your PTFE tubing if this is something you're going to be doing long term. These cheap PTFE tubings that come on the Voxelab printers, the Enders, they all have the possibility of off-gassing some toxic gases past 230, 240 degrees, which you don't want to breathe in. I'm no scientist. I don't know when that happens. I don't know if you could smell it, but it's something you can read about and find more information online and make the decision. I highly recommend using TechBoss PTFE tubes. They go up to 300 degrees, which means just by installing that $6 to $10 tube, your printer has significantly more capability. Just with a small nozzle upgrade, you can then print nylons, polypropylenes, glass and carbon-filled filaments. It opens a lot of doors, so it's a really inexpensive upgrade, and it will help you long term. So for this particular video, I'm going to keep the printer stock. I just want to see how it can handle PETG with just minor changes to the profile. Like I said, I'm going to try the PLA profile with just some temperature changes to start and see if it needs modification. If it does, I'll include the profile for all you guys to use. But if it prints fine, I will be upgrading the PTFE tube on the printer. And I know a lot of you guys are asking about upgrades. I've been trying to keep this printer stocked because it's printing so well. If it's not going to break, I'm not going to fix it on this machine. But things like this, things that will help me run it long term, such as the PTFE tube, I will definitely be looking into the upgrade. So let's change the temperature on the PLA profile. Let's load in this awesome YouSu filament, and let's see if it's as good as their TPUs, their PLAs, and PLA Pluses. I've really enjoyed that stuff. It's easily become my favorite filament. So let's see how this stuff stacks up, and let's see how the Voxelab printer does with higher temperatures and some PETG. All right, I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright, so here's the finished product. Just finished, the bed is still hot. Printed at 0.28 millimeters layer height, and I printed it in just over 2 hours, which is really fast. Here's what I typically print this in. This is transparent PLA. You can tell it has a little bit of a warmer hue to it. These I print at 0.2, and it takes about 4 hours to print. So this is cutting it in half, and the look is so similar. I don't think I would be able to tell the difference in quality, which is very nice. These two printed flawlessly. I can tell back here there's a little bit of a retraction issue. You can tell, I don't know if this is the start or finish of a run, or this is the start or finish of a run, but it looks like it needs a little bit less retraction because something is happening here. It's a little bit of a rougher surface. I can squeeze it, it's not cracking, but it's slightly rougher. And if I was shipping these to a customer, I would have to reprint those. I'm not going to ship those. So that's something worth noting, is here's the color difference. It's minor, but this set is definitely warmer. This is definitely a little bit more transparent, which is nice to know. I think I found a valid replacement filament for things that I'm going to print in transparent filament. So that's nice. I'm going to go ahead and set up another print. I'm going to have to try to solve this issue. And once I get a decent print out of it, I'll be sure to share the profile. So let me go ahead and set up another set, and I'll give you the conclusion in a minute. Alright, so there you go. It actually took me a couple tries to get this going, but if you look closely, that is now gone, and they are nice and even, and everything printed out perfectly fine. It does look like there's some blobs here and there, but they come right off as soon as you touch them, so they're not on the actual print. So there might need to be just a hair more tweaking going on, or maybe that's even just a matter of the filament not being 100% dry, but that's not really a real issue. Now that this one and this one right here in the back are printing perfectly fine, I know the retraction is nearly perfect, if not already perfect, and looks like even though this is PETG, they come right off. They're not really that stuck, which is really nice. Nice and transparent. Seems to be good. So I will share the profile, and I'll see you guys in the conclusion. Alright, conclusion time. I spent a lot of time on these. I printed many sets. I played with the settings of retraction in both directions, adding some, removing some, just to see what it would do, and I think I came to a perfect medium. I'm going to include this profile in the description. I'm also going to continue to play with it, and if I make any changes, I'm going to update the link and put a little note in the description so you guys have the latest profile. I think the blobs that are developing there are maybe we'll be able to fix them with a few settings, such as the prime settings in Cura. I'll go ahead and mess with that and print a couple more just to see what happens. But here's the final comparison. Let me go ahead and focus on this. So the top one is PLA. Come on, camera. There we go. Top one is PLA. Bottom one is PETG. You can tell this one has like a little bit more pigment. It's a little warm. This one is definitely more clear. And it's not necessarily transparent, not more transparent than PLA in a sense where it's going to let in more light, but it does have less color to it. So that's definitely a plus for me. That's what I was looking for, and this is the perfect filament to do it. Really easy to print. One thing about PETG, and I will try this also, is to dry it. I have a dryer for filament. I'm definitely going to put this roll through it. PETG, this is in the basement. It's getting warmer outside. There's definitely humidity in the air. I will have a dehumidifier running in the room. However, that's still not enough in some cases, so the filament may need to be dried, and I'll definitely do some testing and put an update in the description if that's the case. YouSu's filaments, you know, have you guys seen on the channel, PLA, PLA+, TPU have been great. I see zero issues with this filament. It's really easy to recommend this kind of stuff because it seems to just work really well. One other thing to note is inside the box, you also get a nozzle, spare nozzle, and a pin to clear nozzle clogs if that seems to happen. And also a thing that I didn't see in the other rolls is a stick-on surface to print on, which is very nice. I know some people don't like to print PETG on glass. I clearly didn't have any issues, and I haven't in the past. All my printers are glass, and I print PETG. However, some people do note that it sticks almost too well to glass. So this is really nice for them to include. This would also be helpful if you're going to try to print nylons and similar filaments. because they might not be as friendly for glass. So that is awesome. Another recommendation for this filament from me, YouSu, your whole lineup is great. Thank you for providing this particular roll for my testing. I definitely appreciate it. As far as the printer goes, seems like it can handle this perfectly fine. I can see a way where if you upgrade this PTFE tube to something like a Capricorn or Tech Boss, like I mentioned earlier, you are going to have zero issues long term. It looks like the stock PTFE tube can handle this just fine for some short amount of time. I'm sure it will be affected by the heat. It's just not designed to do that, to do it full time. But for tests like mine, a few days worth of printing, like I said, weeks, months, you can probably get a few months out of it without it going bad on you, but at some point it will. And like I mentioned earlier, there is that instance of toxic gases developing from the PTFE tube getting that hot. Why risk it? It's a really inexpensive fix, really inexpensive modification to get a higher rated PTFE tubing. So big suggestion for me, and I will include the one that I like, Tech Boss tubing. I'll include that in the description as well. I like them specifically over Capricorn because they go in a higher temperature. They go to a 300 degree, which means you can run the tube directly to the nozzle itself without zero worry about the temperature requirement there, and you can print practically majority of filaments just from that, even with the copper nozzle. And since you're getting them pretty much every time you order a roll, in this case, they're pretty much disposable at this point. So if one goes bad, and you're starting to just get bad prints, although your settings haven't changed, swap the nozzle. I always say, when in doubt, nozzle out. Get that thing, swap it. Very easy to do, very fast. All right, guys, that's the conclusion. I think we got a pretty good, at least a solid base for PETG filament on this printer. And the Ender 3, they should share the same profiles. Everything's fine. You can print flexibles, PLAs, PETGs, Aquila. Fantastic. Hard to not recommend. All right. See you guys in the next video. If you guys thought this was useful, send somebody a link that might find it useful. If you guys liked it, give me a thumbs up. Any suggestions, put them in the comments. Any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll see you guys there. See ya.